going to get all that ahead of time.
They got it.
For you who are just joining us on YouTube, go back and listen to the audio podcast to catch the beginning, because we're not doing it again.
Not doing it again. Yeah.
No. Too bad. Too bad. So sad. Like, not happening.
That should just give you an idea of what this week has been.
Yeah. And then you want to hear the topper of this week?
Yes.
I got robbed. So yeah, I got robbed.
People,
I got a cop calling me now. I got security guys calling me, security system. I got robbed.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. And I don't want to speak about it, but I may have printed out a sign and put it up on the door of the house that's a little colorful. When I met the security system guy at the house a couple days after the robbery, he reads the sign, he goes, "Oh my, that's probably more effective than our security stickers." I have a little bit of Italian rage. Yeah. So yeah, everyone needs an alarm system.
Or one of your signs. Are you going to be selling these on Etsy? Like, where do we find you?
I'm going to sell F you criminal. I'm going to mofo find you. I am going to, yeah, I'm not going to say what I said because it offended even me. But I don't care. I don't care. I plastered it on the window that the bastard crawled through. I plastered it on the back door, and I plastered it on the door to my basement where he went down and he stole a bunch of my shit. And yeah, so I will update you later on if they caught that mofo, because I'm mad. And it's really interesting. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, you wonder, like, I've always kind of considered myself rational. I have discovered this week.
I feel so bad for laughing at your robbery, but it brings me so much joy.
Ah, you're so messed up, Sadie Dean, which is why I love you.
Yeah.
But like, I've always considered myself rational, but I have to say, I am really not. When something like this happens, I really wanted to just take my hands around his neck and kill him. Like, because it's a violation and all that stuff. So this is the segue, because Sadie's wife, you're listening on audio, she's wiping her eyes because she's been laughing so hard she's crying.
So sad for you. I'm crying.
You're a liar. I'm just wiping my face because the air conditioning is not cold enough in this room and I'm hot as hell. Oh God. Okay. Exhausted. Being angry is exhausting. This is why you should spend time breathing and not being angry, because it can really just exhaust you. So we thought, since we were kind of in an irritated mood this week, that maybe we would talk about pet peeves.
Yes.
And which I really have none planned. So I can just see what comes out.
So that is one of my pet peeves. Is Jeanne not having a plan for her podcast episodes.
Really?
No, it's not.
It's a good one, because I would have to own that. Because even when I do interviews with people, I do plan, like, I watch whatever I'm supposed to watch and I have a couple questions, but for the most part, I really don't plan a lot because of questions, specific questions, because I prepare. but I want to have a dialogue, because one of my pet peeves is when I'm all excited that I go online, I see an interview of somebody I'm really excited to read, and it's just the same shit that you hear over and over again.
Yeah.
And I want to learn something different about them. Like so I try to like see if I can engage them and pull something out of them and get them to do a little more personal things. So like I go through and I read all the interviews that I could find about the person and then try to be like, well, I don't want to ask them that because they've been asked that 20 times this week.
Yeah.
You know, sure, you do the same thing.
Actually, I don't read.
I almost spit my water out.
Oh my God. Like I'm doing like the laugh sweats here.
I am sweating. I might have to put this like big hair up.
I was gonna say that I don't and I probably am doing this whole journalism thing wrong, but it's okay. It's working for me so far. I don't read other interviews about the person I'm going to interview because I don't want to be influenced by those questions or what I think they want me to ask them. I usually ask things that I'm just curious about as an audience member or just as a creative. Like I just sat down interviewing Ed Burns this morning, who's a lovely person. Not only is he very good looking, he's also a very nice person. And we just started talking about writing, and he started asking me questions about how do I write things and outlining, and we just like dove deep into it. And then I was just like, I'm curious, like, are you going to be a playwright someday? And he's like, actually, I would have said no 20 years ago, but now he's like, actually, over the quarantine, I wrote a play because I'm just curious now. So, those kind of things you're not going to find other people's interviews.
And he's been interviewed so many times.
Yeah, so many times for so many things. But yeah, I like I'll read like the trade stuff. I'll see that come in, but I just don't do that kind of research. I'll like look at all their films and everything else, but yeah, I just don't like reading other interviews.
So let's think about like pet peeves. I mean, there's so many pet peeves. Like we could talk about pet peeves in life, but this is a podcast about artists, so we probably should hone it in. But like with writing, like maybe your own pet peeves about yourself. Like, like sometimes I think people, okay, this is like one of my pet peeves. It's kind of about life, but also I'm gonna pull it back to this. So stay with me here. Like when I watch those commercials on TV and it's like, you're fat, like what, why are you fat? Like, oh, it's not your fault that you're fat. And then this is not fat shaming. This is just a statement. Like, so they'll say like, it's not, they'll lead to all these reasons why whatever is wrong with you in life is not your fault. Like, as if, regardless of what it is, like nothing's your fault. Like you don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to change your behavior. All you have to do is get this pill and it will solve your problems, or because they're trying to sell you something. But it's never, ever about your behavior, your actual behavior. I have pet peeves about myself, like things that I recognize. I could take 20,000 classes and I could do, take all the prescribed medication that I could find that's supposedly going to cure this problem I have, but it's really me who has to do it. And so when people try to blame other things for why they're not doing whatever they're supposed to be doing or succeeding or at the level they want to be at, certainly there are other factors that are involved that are truly beyond your control. But when people ignore the thing that is within their control and just blame other people, that makes me want to slap them aside the head. Like, just boom. Like, wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the same thing. I think mine is with, I have a lot of my like personal pet peeves. It's like one of those, like, it's like get out, I have to get out of my own way.
Mhm.
Is that your doggy? I thought I
Yeah,
saw
and
Bill.
this is another pet peeve. Like whenever I'm recording or I'm doing something, she comes up and she has to go to the bathroom.
Of
And
course.
it's like, really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah. That is a literal pet peeve.
What you did there, Sadie D.
Yeah, getting out of my own way. Um, and I was actually just having this conversation with my lovely husband, who's also a creative, and just like we both realize that we're like in these creative slumps, and it's nobody's fault but our own. And we always talk about it, and we're like, we did very like pontific about everything. And we're like, whoa, if we did this, da da da. And then it's like, well, that was great chat. And then it's like, I don't want to work anymore today because I'm so depressed now by this conversation. But it's like self-promotion. Like that's one thing that drives me crazy. Like I think like anyone who does it on social media, I think that's awesome that they have the balls to do it. Sometimes it really annoys me that I see everyone talking about themselves, and then I'm like, no, they should be like, they gotta own their success. And then I'm over here like, I am so scared to share anything. um and that's probably why I haven't done X, Y, and Z or whatever. Like I'll share with you, I'll step out of my own way. One of my short screenplays made it as a semifinalist in a contest this last week.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was also like one of those things where that's the short that I want to shoot this fall. And I keep putting every block in my head of why I can't do the movie. And I was telling this to Rob yesterday. I'm like, well, I'm just one person. Like, I don't have a team right now because of the pandemic and da da da. And he's like, well, you just do it yourself. You know how to do all those things. And it's like, all right, yeah. So there's that, getting out of your own way, self promotion, and my pet peeve is procrastination. And
Is it a pet peeve that you do procrastinate or that you don't procrastinate enough?
yeah, that I do like still like it's like the very last second. I'm like, I know I've had 3 weeks to work on this thing, and I've been thinking about it and avoiding it, and now I have to turn it in 2 hours, and that's constant, and I hate that. I keep doing that. What would
Yeah, I have been known to procrastinate. I need a deadline. Like I need a deadline. If I have a deadline, I'm usually better. But then what happens is I forget to write down the deadline. And then I'm like, when was that deadline?
Mhm.
And then I'm like, I look it up and then I panic. And or if it's like 2 weeks from now, I say, oh, I've got plenty of time. And then I don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the trick is like figuring out, and I think this is true of a lot of creatives. Like we do work better under pressure. And sometimes I use that to my advantage. Like if you've got a writing partner and you know that they're like that, give them false deadlines so
Mhm.
that they have this deadline and then that makes them deliver. You
Mhm.
know, I've done that before.
Yeah.
And I've had them do it to me before too, you
Yeah.
know.
It works.
It does work. It does. That's one of the things I like about contests is that even if you don't have like, you know, the even if you don't have like this expectation of like, you know, or I'm going to win the contest, I'm going to win the contest, it doesn't matter. Just use the contest deadline as a deadline for yourself to get a draft done or get whatever done. If there's a conference, use the conference as a deadline to get it done. If there's a film festival that you want to go to, use that as a deadline and like a reward. I finished my first draft. I'm going to go to the film festival, watch some films and feel great because I finished my first draft. Like, you know, if I try to find like, maybe finding ways to reward yourself is a good way to get past the procrastination. For me, at this current stage of my life, I honestly, I'm at that, you know, have you ever heard that expression? There's a lot of editing I'm going to have to do on this podcast because I keep starting a sentence and stopping a sentence. And that's annoying. So I'm apologizing to myself that I will be editing this later. So have you ever heard that expression, if you want something done, give it to a busy person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's me right now.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't have time to procrastinate because I have so much. Like, if I listed off to you guys everything on my plate right now, that it will be on my plate, and the insanity that is on my plate until hopefully August 30th, things will lighten up. Your heads would collectively explode. And I'm not trying to get sympathy here, not at all, just saying. So because I'm so busy, that adage is true. Like, I will have something to do and I have to do it right now, because if I wait, it's going to get lost in the abyss. So I have found this summer that I've been doing all this stuff has been, I've gotten so much done. Like, I was looking, you get those like memory things in your phone, and like you go back, and I had to go back and, oh, that was what it was. I had to go back to my phone and look for pictures of some of these things that this jerk stole from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking for photo evidence so the cops could nail his ass. And but I was coming across, like, I'm scrolling through my summer and I'm like, oh my God, like all the stuff I did. Crazy. None of it was vacation or fun, just to clarify. So I found that, like, when I'm really busy, I procrastinate less. And then I actually feel really guilty because I'm not writing. So that's when I started doing that thing that I told you guys about the other week, where listening to podcasts that kind of are in the world of my story, so that I would feel less like I was not being creative. So at least I could be creative while I was doing this mindless, annoying thing.
Mm-hmm.
But procrastination is a big problem. But I also rationalize procrastination sometimes.
Well, you have.
Like, I'll, yeah, like I'll say to myself, well, if I wrote that scene 3 weeks ago, it wouldn't be the scene that I'm writing today.
That's right.
It would be a totally different scene, and maybe that one would have sucked.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I support that. I'm realizing
Yeah.
as we're talking about these pet peeves, like you would think that would be like bashing on someone else. It's just all self-inflicted. I am my own pet peeve.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, we should put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Or that could be the title of this
like,
episode.
The like, I'm with stupid, and it just says it's me.
Or just a picture of you looking in the mirror and in the mirror. So
I have other pet peeves, and I think it has, I guess, with like writing or creative stuff.
yeah, tell me.
Asking for favors.
Sit down on my couch.
Okay. Hey, Jeannie.
My therapy couch.
Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
Sadie. How are you this week?
I'm great.
Tell me how you're feeling.
Not so good. I got
Why is that, Sadie?
I have the laugh sweats, and
Let me hand you this box of tissue.
Yeah, I really need it. When people ask you for favors, say to like read a script, and then you do it, and then you ask them, hey, can you read my script? And then you never hear from them. But I'm also guilty of that too. I mean, I haven't asked this person to read anything of mine, but they have kindly sent me their stuff, and I just haven't had time to really like actually read it because I want to give it my full attention. And it's been months now, and I'm like, how do I read the scripts?
Okay, so I would like to address this,
and then give them nice notes. When it's already placing in contests, it's doing great. So my feedback means nothing at this point, but I feel bad that I did that, but also life. I don't know.
Okay, so here's what you do, because I've done this before. You reply back and you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn't read your script. And then you say, I'm sorry, I didn this totally slipped my radar.
Yeah.
I know the script is already out there, doing great in contests. It's great. Congratulations. If you ever have a future version of it you want me to take a look at,
Yeah. Can
I'm
you slow
happy
it
to
down?
take a
I'm
look at it.
writing this down.
So then
I'm
the lesson,
sorry.
then the lesson in this is when somebody sends you something, this is what I've had to do recently. And guess what? Nobody dies when you do this. You reply back and you say, I wish I had the time to read this right now, but I don't. If you're willing to wait a couple of months, I can look at it a couple months from now. I'm going to put an alert in my calendar to remind me on September 30th to check this email from you. But if you are at a stage where you don't have that luxury of waiting a couple of months, go to somebody else and I'll look at whatever version you have a couple months from now. And it's just better.
Yeah. Okay.
To
Can
just say it.
Can you repeat that? Because I'm gonna use that.
I'll send you an email telling you that I can't look at any of your shit.
Yeah. I know you never asked, but I'm never gonna do it. So
I'm not looking at your
get
stuff,
that out of the
Sadie.
way. Yeah.
That's right.
That's fine.
I
That's
don't know.
what are some pet peeves for you that are not self-inflicted or maybe self-inflicted?
Okay, I'll tell you a big pet peeve I have. When I'm on Twitter, it used to happen, I feel like more before, like earlier days of Twitter, but still the
Mhm.
last couple of years it hasn't happened as much, and I'm grateful. Maybe because I've said it enough times that people stop doing it. But I have no problem following people back. I like to anybody who engages with me, I engage back with them. I mean, I'm terrible sometimes at following people back. So if you are following me on Twitter and I did not follow you back, I trust me, it is not personal. I just don't, I've got, I don't sit there and go through, I should, it's not, you know, I'm humbled by the people who follow me, but if you start talking to me, I immediately follow you back. Like I'm not, I
Yeah.
just don't like going through that because there's so many
Also,
bots and
Twitter does this weird thing because I've been seeing it where you get new followers, but it doesn't notify you. So you don't know who's following you that's new.
I've also had Twitter. Let's bash on Twitter for a second. I've also had Twitter unfollow, like unfollow people that I'm following. And
Yeah.
it's like, how come I'm not following you? I just followed you the other day. I know I was following you.
Yeah.
And then they get upset because they think I unfollowed them. I
Right.
didn't unfollow
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Like Twitter is crazy.
All social media.
And it's crazy. And I also think that, and I love social media at the same time. I love connecting with people. I love meeting new people. I love being in my home in the middle of nowhere and being able to talk to writers and connect with other creatives. But I feel like social media is, people really need to check themselves before they wreck themselves. And like, I'm really angry about something today, but I'm not going to go on social media and start blasting it because no one gives a shit what I think.
I do.
And well, you're gonna, especially if it's something about politics, you're immediately going to offend half of the people out there.
Yeah.
So why do you want to offend half of the people who might be buying your book or watching your film or contributing to your Kickstarter campaign? Like, that sounds kind of selfish, but it's a fact. Like, whatever's pissing you off today will pass. So let it pass.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the pet peeve I was going to say. The pet peeve I was going to say is the DM thing. There's probably a way you can do it, set automatic DMs, so that you get it. Some people do one so that if you follow them, it comes back and says, thank you for following me, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about as soon as you follow somebody, they immediately ask something of you.
Yeah.
Oh, can you read my screenplay? Oh, can you give money to my crowdfunder? Oh, can you give me advice on filmmaking? Oh, can I run a pitch or query by you?
Yeah.
I don't know you. I don't know you at all.
Yeah.
I literally don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, that's wrong. Like, that's wrong. Like,
yeah,
no.
don't do that. Yeah.
No.
I also have,
That's
but that kind of goes into another pet peeve, the people who say, "Can I ask you a question?" You just did. What's the question?
no.
No. Yeah, that's
Oh, or okay, another pet peeve that's as dumb as the can I ask you a question? If December 31st, when people say, see you next year. Freaking hate that.
well,
Sorry.
I know what kind of Christmas card to get you now.
I'm waiting like when this airs, like all these people are gonna DM me. Hey Jeannie, can you do this? Dude, thinking that they're gonna be funny.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
It is. It's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It is. I will chuckle
Yeah.
right before I unfollow you.
Yeah, just block.
Kidding. I don't block people unless you're really, 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 really bad.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing. I think this is a good pet. I don't. It's not a good pet peeve. Pet peeves aren't good. That's stupid. But it goes in line with like social media. The algorithms of social media, and I think this for any creative. I mean, I know both you and I run brands essentially, and we're trying to get content in front of people. But as a creative, and I have this with my band account, where there's posts that just get lost in the abyss, or there's people that you follow and you're like, I never heard about your project. I never heard about your show because it just never showed up on my Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is that you're following them on. And like a year ago, I thought I really like nailed down how to like maneuver within social media and make it work. And all those things that I was doing, I don't work anymore. Like this last week,
they keep changing the algorithm.
Keep changing it. And I was talking to marketing at Script. I mean, like, I don't know. It's everything's so complicated now. Like it used to be just really easy, like give them some money and then this thing happens. Now it's like you have to go talk to the prime minister and get approval and like just crazy things, right? But it's just as simple as like I just want to share this free thing with people. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I just want to say, hey, like learn about structure, read this article about with so and so who's really awesome. Like I learned a lot. I hope you do too. And it's like lost, gone.
Yeah. And people like even like fake Facebook pages that I would follow because I would want to see articles and stuff like that. Yeah. You don't see them anymore because unless they pay for ads, Facebook drops their stuff low and you never see it. So you have to like remember, oh yeah, I want to go look at that publication. So I have to actually search for it and go to the page.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
It's really annoying. But it's I feel for independent filmmakers also. We're using these as tools to get, spread the word, to canvas, the internet with this stuff.
Yeah.
You can't really go to in-person events right now or, put flyers up anymore. But yeah, it just hurts us. And it's like, we don't have the money to spend $100 a week to hopefully get 20,000 impressions in one click. It's terrible. What can we do to fix this, Jeannie? How do we?
Okay, so I was funny. You are a mind reader, Sadie Dean, because I am an action person and I like a plan. Like so let's just state this halfway through this podcast, or who knows how long this will be. We could go on for days bitching, but this is how my process is. This is sort of like how I take notes. Mm-hmm. The first thing I do is I get upset and I bitch and I complain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I have to come up with a solution and a plan. So I do have a plan for this social media thing. I don't have a plan for Facebook. I don't even, there's some like plugin. I think there was one plugin that I put in for Facebook called Social Fixer. Mm-hmm. And it was during the whole election campaign. And I just didn't want to hear the name of a politician. And you can like tell it. If somebody says this, and this, don't let it show up on my feed. I don't want to see it. And that's awesome. But I don't know if it still works, but it's whatever. Mm-hmm. Didn't cost anything. But also too, for Twitter, my pet peeve about Twitter isn't just the DM thing, because that's a people thing, but the Twitter platform itself. You only see tweets of people you're engaging with.
Mm-hmm.
I follow like tens of thousands of people. Obviously, I can't see what everybody says,
Yeah.
but sometimes I follow people back knowing that there's no way I can keep track of all these people, what they're saying, but because I'm following them, it gives them the opportunity to DM me and for us to get to know each other more and have a conversation. So I always like to leave the door open.
Mm-hmm.
So, but TweetDeck is awesome.
Okay.
And it's like allows you to create. I have the kind that's desktop, that's not, you can do it on the web in a browser, but you can also do it on a desktop. I have the TweetDeck app, and you make lists on Twitter, and then you can make columns of your lists. So like I have a column for filmmakers, a column for people who went to, when I was running script, I had a column for all my script writers and people who went to our conferences. Now I have one for pipeline artists, like all the people who write for us. And I have a column for script chat. I have a column for pipeline authors. I've got, things like that, then I will be able to follow those people.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a column for my faves. So, and then you can take people on and off lists. You can create new lists. You can create a list of agents. You can create a list of producers. You can create Twitter lists, I think, are something that people underuse.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do it this way and use those lists as columns on TweetDeck, it really lets you see stuff. And even if you and if you want to really support indie filmmakers, if you did a hashtag, you don't have to make a list for this. You can just create a list for a column for a hashtag. So you could do hashtag indie film, hashtag support indie film, hashtag crowdfunding. Like you can do anything you want so that you see those people who you don't even follow, but you might want to be able to help. Like TweetDeck is really great.
Yeah, that sounds like a great tool, especially for indie filmmakers too.
Yeah.
It's like your own Rolodex.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like it. See, I'm already feeling better. Like when we start talking about solutions, it makes me feel less bitchy. And I'm really hoping that at the end of this podcast, I am done being a bitch for the day.
Yeah.
Guess what? We didn't do our quotes.
Well, I have some for you if you want. You
filled it up.
Wow. It's a different color.
I know. It was probably better to kill. No, I've got Patron in here. I think it's the Patron bottle you sent me.
Oh, really?
But this was originally from Mexico, whatever that Terry Baez sent me. And I didn't notice until after when I was filling it up that like the top actually has tequila in it. Can you see
Oh, that's cool. Are you sure it's not?
I'm gonna have to smash that open when I get desperate.
Yeah. In like 2 hours.
If you know that thing doesn't have, if next time you see it, there's no top on it, you know that I smashed that baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were doing videos in the last couple of weeks. We're doing videos of our book pipeline workshop editors. And one of the questions we asked each one of them was what their pet peeves were. Ooh. And yeah. And so I've been uploading them to YouTube. And I have to say another pet peeve is how slow it is to upload videos to YouTube.
Yeah.
Seriously. And did you know you cannot pause a video while you're uploading it to YouTube? You have to just cancel it and start all over again.
Uh-huh.
Seriously? You can't pause the video? This is 2021.
Yeah. The thing is,
hello, Google.
They know you're going to come back and do it again. So why would they fix that? Where else are you going to go, Jeannie? Like my laugh sweats just went away. Please don't ramp it back up.
I just flipped Sadie the double bird. So for those on audio who can't see YouTube, But
Yeah.
anyway, we were taking like each question and doing like separate little mini videos with their answers. And I'm like, oh, I don't think maybe we shouldn't do the pet peeve collectives because it's just going to sound so bitchy. And then here I was like, Sadie and I are like literally like within 24 hours, let's do a pet peeves episode.
I mean, to be fair, it is on our list of
It is.
topic ideas, right? So this is one of them. Yeah.
And you have to kind of be in a mood to do this.
Yeah.
So the stars aligned and we were both in a mood.
Yeah. I think this is more of a, like a PG version of pet peeves because I feel like it could go even deeper. But I guess you could just DM us if you want a deeper pet peeve.
Oh yeah. We'll keep this. We'll keep this.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice and sweet. But one of the I can't remember all the pet peeves they said. They were talking about they're dealing with novelists, you know. So in the synopsis, like when people write their synopsis and they send it in for review, they wouldn't give the ending or they wouldn't. So that's not really a synopsis. Like a synopsis is the whole full thing. And like, so I guess like, so that was one of the things they were saying was a pet peeve. And so for me, like one of my pet peeves is just like when people don't follow instructions. Like if you take the time to write the instructions, follow the instructions. Another pet peeve is when people don't take the time to write the instructions and they think you can read their mind. Like before GPS and you'd get invited to a wedding and you couldn't find the wedding because they wouldn't give you good directions and they wonder why you missed the I do in the church.
Yeah.
This has never happened to me. It just depends.
Yeah, I think that following rules or not following rules is definitely a pet peeve. Especially like in screenwriting. I don't know if you ever like, I know you've read lots of screenplays, but just like formatting or just simple things of just like, I don't know, there's a list of things, right, that you can go on about just there's so much free resources out there now on how to write.
And I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for beginning writers. And I think that it's fine to ask questions. You should ask questions and there should be people out there wanting to help you. But caveat, if it's something you could Google it. Like, don't ask me so that I have to Google it for you. Like, just type it in. Like, try to find the answer to your question before you hug people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's busy and you got to respect people's time. That also goes to like when you're working with a mentor. And I've written about this. I think I wrote it on Script magazine about how to work with mentors. If they take the time to give you notes and they take the time to try to teach you something, you need to take the time to really try to learn it, to really try to understand what they're saying and practice it and try it out before you go back and say and bug them again about it. Work on it for a while, work on that scene, work on whatever it is, coming in late, getting out early, whatever it is that they're trying to teach you. Practice it for a while and then fix it in your script that they gave you feedback on or whatever, like however it is, but like show them that you're willing to put in the work, because when you put in work like that and you work really hard, it makes people want to help you. And I know whenever I've tried to help somebody, or I love to see that when somebody really, the worst thing is like, I remember one guy, I gave him notes, he like, please give me notes, please give me notes. I was really, really busy. And I was like, okay, you're a Twitter friend, happy to give you notes. I stopped everything, read the thing, read it twice, spent an hour writing an email to him, sent it to him. And he replied back. And reading a screenplay twice doesn't take like 20 minutes. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
And he replied back and he was just basically like, Oh, well, the person who I had read my script on X site said, said it was fine. So whatever, I'm not literally negated every single note I gave them because they had gotten a certain score on a certain site. And I'm like, well, then why did you ask me to read your script? Like, if you were just going to go by whatever you already heard, why are you asking for a second opinion? It's like me being sick and having a diagnosis of something and and the doctor telling me, oh, you're fine. You're going to be fine. Your blood work is fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. That lump doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
and then, and then I go to a specialist about this lump and they say, that might be cancer. We
Right.
need to look at that. You know what? I don't want to hear that. I'm going to go back to my other doctor who told me everything was fine.
Mhm.
Literally, that's what you're doing. Like, you're sticking your head in the sand. Don't do that. Like, don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something we could talk about in a different episode. Oh no, she's doing the laugh sweats. Here it comes. The note beneath the note, or just like the art of taking notes, because yeah, I've had
Don't we have that as an episode that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think you get more out of the notes that you deem negative. Those are usually the ones where like, okay, if like 2-3 people are saying the same thing, that is a problem. I should really address this rather than being like super defensive and be like, no, this stays. How dare you? You don't understand because this one person who I paid a lot of money said that this was great. They're usually wrong.
Or they're just, you paid them a
Yeah.
lot of money, and sometimes they're getting paid per script. And it's easy and faster for them to say, oh yeah, that's great, and move on. I'm not saying, I mean, I'm not saying that the site that this person went to did that. I have no idea what they did, but I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah. But also if you ask somebody for notes and you take the time to actually give them, constructive feedback, you should really digest it and sit on it. Don't respond right away, super defensive.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I had another guy tweet out that he cried when he got my notes. And
like depressed crying or like happy tears?
Like straight up cried. And he was tweeting that he was crying because he just got notes. He was really upset. And I saw it. I mean, come on, what's the coincidence? I had hit send about 15 minutes earlier, and now the guy's crying. But I love this guy, and he was so great because I immediately emailed him, and I'm like, I saw your tweet. I'm really sorry. I beg you to just pause, let it digest. I mailed him the physical copy of the script that I had written, scribbled notes all over. And I'll probably talk about the story again when we talk about notes, but that is the emotional read, what I call the emotional read. I scribble on there saying, oh my God, I can't wait to turn the page. Or I say, now I don't care about this person. Or I say, I don't believe they would have done this. Like, so you're getting my emotions in real time. And once he got that in the mail, he was like, oh my God, I get it now. Oh my God, and he was like so excited because I actually, in reading the notes, the script turned into something totally different. And he ended up doing really well in contests and stuff like that. I'm not taking any credit for that. He put the work in. And that's what I mean. Like he wasn't defensive. He put the work in. He made the decision. I never read it again after that. Like he made the decision of what to do or what notes to listen to, what notes to ignore, which is a whole other skill set. But he didn't just poo-poo it and dismiss the opinion and my thought and time. And
I love that. I love that you
Yeah.
sent him the actual script back with your notes on it. Because it's so beneficial. When I was in a writer's group, we would do the table read and everyone would put, real-time notes before or during the read, and getting those back, you're like, you could see like, oh, that's nice. I only have this limited edition.
Where's your Rex's Creative Cup?
I don't know. Somewhere in the kitchen. But just having those notes in real time, and then seeing like, comparing them and seeing where, things like if people are saying the same thing, like if you're doing the same note on the same scene, again, that's something you should address in your next rewrite, rather than be like, you're wrong, how dare you. I like that. I think that's very sweet that you sent him the screenplay.
I like to be helpful and not just a
Yeah.
straight up bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, and I also think it's super important. I think one of my other, I don't know if I'd call it a pet peeve, but it's more of like a piece of advice. When people give you feedback and they give you something positive,
Mm-hmm.
Don't just focus on the negative. Also reward yourself for the positive and make sure you put a note in your screenplay. Everybody seems to love this. Everybody seems to love this, so that you don't mess it up and change it, because it's so easy to forget what people loved.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get notes from people when I'm working on a rewrite, this is turning into a notes
What's going on here?
thing.
What's
I don't
happening?
know.
I have some notes on this podcast episode.
Yeah, we gotta abort the note thing, so we have something to talk about on our notes podcast. But definitely write down the positive stuff and don't forget. I'll tell my other thing later on our notes episode. Stay tuned.
But just to go off of that before I forget, I've had that before where you're like, all of this stuff around this great scene isn't working, and then you start rewriting those like, sour points, and then you end up changing that great scene because you start overthinking like, well, how did that work? But these, things didn't work leading up to it. So obviously I have to change this because now it's not going to work, or whatever. You overthink it, then you blow up your script and you're like, I'm a trouble writer. I shouldn't do this anymore. I have one more pet peeve. Communication. And I have this with bookers as a musician. Bookers and promoters are the worst at communicating. And it drives me absolutely nuts. They are super dismissive in a way. Like they make it where like you need them, where it's like, but I'm bringing you the people and the money, so why wouldn't you communicate?
You need me.
Yeah. And just like there's a lot of bookers I chat with, and they're deep down inside, they're really nice people. They're just really bad at communicating, and it's really infuriating, especially when you're trying to plan things. And sometimes like I have like one booker that I will chat with sometimes. They're like, hey, do you have these dates available? And they just write, yes. And you go, cool. Which date? And it's just like, we're just having a conversation here. Like there's like this show I'm doing. It's a really big show. And this kid he's literally a kid, who just like, I've been trying to get a hold of him for 5 months. I've called, I've emailed, I've texted him, rinse and repeat. And finally, I just got a new contract from him, I think like 2 days ago. But it's been taking like forever when he could just read the email. He's like, well, can you just email me about this? And it's like, yeah, I already emailed you. Check out the emails that I've been talking to myself through.
Search my email address and you will see a whole bunch of emails.
Yeah, it's just communication, I think, and it goes like that with like other people within the industry too. People I've spoken with through work. It's just, I know you saw the email. Like, I'm busy too, and I will take the time to go, yes, okay, I saw this, or I'll just like own up to that I didn't respond right away, but at least respond rather than not responding and being dismissive. It's just really frustrating. Bookers, don't deal with them. That's my
and I guess the other, and I don't think there's a way, I have no way around that problem, Sadie. I can't solve that problem for you.
How do we fix this?
I don't know how to fix that, and I also don't know how to fix like that gatekeeping thing in the industry. It's so frustrating, and it almost starts making you feel like, like what, like they don't want to let new talent in.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, and I know it's silly, like of course they need talent, they need content, blah 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 blah. But this whole like gatekeeping thing is, I'm somebody who um I'm a proactive person. I like to do and take action and have results.
Mhm.
And so I think too many people get hung up on the gatekeeping thing, and they don't do things like, I don't know, just ask, query, ask,
Yeah.
try. What's the worst that's going to happen? You don't get anywhere because it's an unsolicited query, whatever. But you never know. You might catch the person in a day where they're willing to listen. Like, I mean, I think that you can't just wait for something to happen. This goes back to I can't succeed because there's all these gatekeepers.
Mhm.
There are people out there who pitch and cold query, and they get their stuff read and get their stuff seen, and it can be done. It's not easy, it's exhausting. I hate that it's exhausting. Like,
Yeah.
this is like I hate that it's this way,
Yeah.
because there's like, I remember, when I first started doing this, I remember talking to my dad, and he's one of the smartest men, hard worker. He used to have a sign behind his seat in the kitchen table that said, "Work is joy, joy is work." In case anyone's wondering why I am the way I am. Why I'm a workaholic. He said to me, I just don't understand why this is taking so long. Like, you work so hard, like there's no correlation between how hard you work and your success. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if you were working at any other job, that the putting in the effort you're working, you would be so far along by now. Like, I don't understand A, why it's like that, and B, why you keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I have no answer to either one of those questions. And that's what I said to him. There's no logical answer to either one of those questions.
Yeah.
It's I don't know why the industry is that way. And I would love it if somebody would say to me, this is why, because of this and this and this. And then it would be like this light bulb moment. Maybe that's what we need to do, Sadie Dean. We need to go on a quest to find out if we could get real, like, honest answers. It's like this because, and I don't care if the answer is, it's like this because we don't want to let anybody else in because we want all the jobs ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? If somebody said that to me, I'd be like, thank you. It's sort of
Yeah.
like in that episode of Sex in the City when they said, he's just not that into you.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, Miranda's like, how liberating. No,
Yeah.
tell me more.
Yeah.
That's really liberating.
Yeah.
He didn't want to come up, not because he had an early work meeting the next day.
Yeah.
It's because he wasn't into me.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I would like people to be more honest.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of goes into what Rob and I were talking about yesterday, just like the idea of like, we've been doing this for so long. Why aren't we at this, rank or hierarchy in the industry now? It's like, and why do we keep doing it? Why are we crazy? And I don't have the answer for that, but it's like, also
No.
we know where our capabilities and where our talent is, and that we're really good at these certain things. So why aren't I doing that thing for a living? Or it's like, you see other people again, like on social media, being like, I just got this job doing this thing. I don't know how to do it. Never done it before. Have no talent, but I'm getting paid to do this thing. And you're like, why do they get to do it? What did they do that I'm not doing? And I think that's that shameless self-promotion thing that I'll
Yeah,
probably.
and I also think, to bring this right back around, I
Mhm.
think you need to make your short film, because
Yeah.
those are perfect ways to highlight your talent, and you don't have to ask anybody's permission to do it.
Right.
You just do it yourself. And so, like, if those gatekeepers are all around and you feel like they're keeping you out, well, create something so that they can't ignore you.
Mhm.
That there's this really great piece of art right here. Like, here it is,
Yeah.
and this is what I can do. This is what I'm capable of. So I don't need to be sitting. I think it's better to show and prove what you're capable of. And sometimes it can't be in the form of a screenplay. Sometimes you have to create a short film, or maybe you need to take that story that's your screenplay and write it as a novel so people can see it. Like, you just have to, again, back to what I was saying before, like, take ownership. Like, if what you're doing isn't working, pivot. You know, like, okay, I gain weight when I drink tequila at 1 a.m. because that makes me want to go get a handful of those lime flavored Tostito chips.
Ooh.
They're awesome with tequila. So can I blame somebody else? No, that's me, whose drunk ass walked down to the pantry and got the entire bag of chips.
But like, that is the perfect pairing, the lime and the salt and tequila.
It really is. It really is. That little, I know. Now I want some right now. But thank God my husband finished the bag, so they're not in the house anymore. So I'm safe.
All right.
Diet is back on.
There, and to circle back when I was talking to Ed Burns this morning, because he's kind of like the king of indie filmmaking and sense, right? And he was like, I write projects wherever so I could get paid and make money, and I'll send it out, and I hope that somebody will buy it. But also, why should I ask permission from someone to make my movie? So I'll go and write a micro budget thing that I know I can film for $25,000. And he's, it's going to be good or it won't, but I'm doing it. I'm making my art, and maybe people won't like it. Maybe people will, but he's like, but also I use it as a way to just learn. He's like, I'm constantly learning about what I can and can't do and how do I improve. And I'm like all like inspired talking to you and Ed this afternoon, that you just have to do it in some way.
Are you, having talked about, now that we're winding down, having talked about pet peeves, you're back on the therapy couch now, Sadie Dean.
Thanks for having me. Are
you feeling more relaxed now? A little less anxious, maybe?
Well, I feel my heart racing. But
that's because you saw my tequila bottle.
Yeah, it's because you were talking about chips, and I love chips. But my last sweats have gone away, and I thank you for that. I feel a little bit more calm. Do you feel better?
I do. I was really mad when we started.
You were, yeah. And I apologize for laughing, but your misery brings joy.
No, that was, that's fine. Laugh all you want, because I think that but that's the other trick. You can have like pet peeves about stuff, but you kind of keep it in perspective. Like, just take a deep breath, because you can't control everything. Nothing is going to go your way. They're going to be certain days when it just feels like somebody's taking a 2x4 and bashing you side the head over and over and over again. And when you fall down,
to you,
which actually has happened to me. Do you know that
it's healed?
Okay, so I know. Remember when I got that dock in my head and I had the big gash, and I don't know, just a few weeks after that, I stepped on, just like in the Bugs Bunny cartoons, I stepped on a rake. Trying to make you laugh, sweat again, and it came up and boinked me right in the head. That really does happen. And I had like this big bump on my head, and it was right up here, and it's still a little bit a bump, and that was in June. And there's still and it is now August 20th, and it's still a little bump there. But anyway, the thing that happens, like, once you get hit in the side of the head by the 2x4 and you're on the ground, okay? You have a choice to make. Are you gonna lay there and cry and give up? Or are you gonna get your ass up and figure out what to do? And it's okay to lay there and cry for a little while. That's okay. That's part of your process. Lay there and cry, bitch, moan, whatever. But at some point, you have to make a decision to get your ass back up and figure it out.
Yeah.
And when people just lay there and cry and stay there and cry, I have no problem with people laying there and crying. I'm the first one to lay there and cry. That's my process. I lay there and cry for a little while. But when you're not going to get up and try to figure out a solution, I got no sympathy for you. Figure it out.
Yeah. Figure it out. I'm crying again.
And the image of me with a rake. We need to get like one of those boing, like that really hurt.
I didn't know that you
Horrible.
were going to clown school. This is news to me.
And you know, I'm a black belt, and I gotta say, I've had toes broken, I've had ribs bruised, I've had my nose broken, but that raked my head. That might have been the worst.
Oh, poor Jeannie.
Don't do that. And okay, you know how they say like the rake, the tongs sticking up, and that's how that happens? Like the tongs are like this, and it comes point. This one was with tongs down, but it had like this. It was just, I was like, what the heck? Yeah, it wasn't good.
You're a special lady, Jeannie.
Yeah, I'm schlep rock.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just imagine like silent film style, like Buster Keaton. That's you.
That's me, girl.
I love
That's
it.
me.
Well, this was great. I mean, I think it was a little odd that we didn't really have a plan, but no surprise here. But to wrap things up, I have some quotes for you since we didn't start off with quotes.
Okay. What up, Buttercup?
The sweats are coming back. They're coming back. All right, let me see. Because this was kind of like a weird. Where are these quotes? Okay. Here's the first one. And this is either Larry David, or Fran Lebowitz.
Okay.
Life is something that happens when you can't get to sleep.
Fran?
Yeah.
I'm getting good at this.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know what I've decided since today's pet peeve day? I'm just going to drink after every one of these, whether I got it right or wrong.
Okay.
Because it's that kind of day, kids.
Yeah. I just want some chips. No.
It's still good. It's delicious, but this is straight liquor, people.
Yeah.
Don't try this at home.
Just do it when you're driving.
I have to create a Pipeline Artist newsletter after this, so I'm going to definitely have to have Matt proofread it.
Ooh.
Next.
Ready?
Yep.
You write about what you know.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all.
That's it. That's all I have on that.
So that's a disappointing quote. So I'm going to say it's Larry.
And you're right.
There you go.
Yep.
Larry did.
This could be a kind of pet peeve one, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Most people are completely unaware of their breath. They violate your space. They have no idea that they have halitosis.
I think you said this the other day. First of all, that is an accurate statement.
Yes.
And I think it's Larry.
And you're right.
Oh my God. I'm getting good at this. We might have to pick new people because I'm getting too good at these two.
Yeah. We'll have to find new people. Or not, because this is great. You're doing such a great job. I'm so proud of you.
How many quotes are there?
That was it.
Okay, thank God. I'm going to put the cap right back on this thing. Or else I'm about to make a new sign for my house. It's even uglier than the first sign.
Here's a really dumb quote. That's just ridiculous. It's not Fan or Larry, but you maybe guess
Okay.
who it is. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact.
Jeff Bezos.
Close, pretty close.
Is it the other guy?
Elon Musk.
Is it Elon Musk? Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I can see the shadow of your dog.
Okay, she's now licking my elbow.
It's time.
There must be some serious outgoing that needs to happen here. You see her tail back there wagging away?
It looks like you have a tail.
It does.
It does. Well, Jeannie, this was fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I heard there's this podcast thing that we do all the time. So maybe we'll try it again sometime.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people like it.
Yeah. Or they say, you know what my pet peeve is? That Reckless Creative Podcast.
Yeah,
God, they're so annoying.
Podcast. They don't even know what they're talking about. They just complain. Ugh.
They don't plan. They have no clue.
No clue.
The end. Reckless Creatives is a Pipeline Artist original podcast. Like, subscribe, and follow us on social media at Pipeline Artists. And find more info at pipelineartists.com/listen. Until next time, stay reckless.